What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several creative maps that can help you improve if you're a zero build player in Fortnite. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below if you're someone who takes advantage of creative mode. Unfortunately, when it comes to zero build, there aren't as many populated maps for zero build as there are for build mode, but even the ones that are somewhat popular still struggle to have players in some regions or in non-peak hours, so there's not as many options there. And with another unfortunate fact is that just with the Star Wars season, these Star Wars weapons are currently not in creative, so the only way to get experience and practice with them is to play battle royale. And so some of this might not translate immediately to the Star Wars season, even though I think a lot of it will. The Star Wars weapons will be gone next season, and I expect the Chapter 6 weapons to return. So playing with the Chapter 6 weapons now in creative will help you stay kind of fresh and warm with them when Season 3 does come out. And I've had so many people, ask, like, why should I bother playing creative? It's not going to help me get better at Battle Royale. The only thing that's going to help me get better at Battle Royale is going to be Battle Royale. And there's some aspects of BR that definitely don't translate to creative, or I guess some things you can practice in creative that don't translate to BR. But at the end of the day, Fortnite is Fortnite, and fighting in Fortnite is fighting in Fortnite. It doesn't matter if you're using a slightly different weapon or, the conditions for the fight are slightly different. The fact that you can get in just as many fights as possible in a very short time span in creative is what makes it incredibly good for practicing and improving quickly. When it comes to Battle Royale, a lot of players will play 10-minute or 20-minute game and see less than 3 people all game because they're hiding trying to get a win. And that's an average of a kill every 7 minutes or so, right? In creative, you could get in like 20 engagements in that time, maybe more. And so just with that repetition, you're going to get better over time, and you're going to build like the fundamental fighting skills much faster. There's also much less penalty for losing or dying, so you could just play more. You don't have to worry about like backing out, finding a new game, getting loot again. You just respawn and go again. A lot of these fighting mechanics take time to build. You can sit there and think about it all day or watch videos or streams, but at the end of the day, if you're not practicing fighting, you're not going to get that much better at fighting. So just getting in as many fights as possible allows you to build that skill. Things like, weapon swapping, movement, aim. A lot of this is just mechanical muscle memory skill. And the more you play and the more you do those things, the better you're going to get at it. And I also think a lot of newer Fortnite players they get very scared when they're fighting, and they kind of start to panic. And that is not ideal. And I think the main way to kind of get over that is just to get in more fights. And creative is going to help you with that as well. Just small amounts of time consistently, I think, will result in you being much better over a longer time scale. Like, what I always recommend is just playing a bit of creative before you hop into BR. It could be like, 10, 15 minutes, maybe even less. But just like an amount of time that is half of a regular Battle Royale match is going to get you much more practice in that time. And it's going to make you play better when you do transition to Battle Royale, because a lot of players, their first few games, they don't feel, comfortable playing it. They got to like warm up until they start to feel right? You get that warm up done faster in a way that allows you to practice faster. And so not only are you warming up, so you're going to be able to play better in your Battle Royale matches, but you're also improving your skill at that time. And I think anything you're trying to improve at, a lot of times there's like drills or ways to practice that aren't just playing the game. Basketball players, have lots of drills that they practice on the court that isn't just like game time. The only way to practice and improve is not game time. And if you look at Battle Royale, I think it's similar. Creative, there's a lot of drills and things you can do to practice that is going to help you play better when actual games come. And I've also seen a lot of people say they just get destroyed whenever they do play creative or any sort of creative deathmatch. I think that's actually a very good thing, because if you're doing okay in matches, but when you play creative, you're running into much better players, those better players are going to teach you more when you fight them. You're going to like get exposed to better players and see what actually works versus somebody better. And then you're going to be able to take that into your Battle Royale matches and have a much easier time playing against the opponents that you were already playing against. So even if you have a hard time playing some of these death matches, I think it can still benefit you a lot if you do kind of, take your lumps and start to actually get eliminations on those better players and see what actually works versus a better player. So now we're going to get into the maps. A lot of creative maps do basically the same thing. There's countless aim maps out there. There's countless deathmatch maps out there. You don't have to use identically the ones that I recommend in this video. Doesn't really matter what you play. But I am going to be showing some maps, and the codes for them will be linked down in the description below. The first is going to be this aim training map. As I said, there's countless aim training maps out there. Personally, I don't aim train very much, but I've played Fortnite for 7 years now, and I've played shooters on controller for my entire life, and I've played multiplayer shooters online on controller since like 2008, 2009. So I have hours upon hours upon hours of playing. If you're someone who doesn't get to play that much, 5 to 10 minutes of aim training, maybe just 5 minutes. 5 minutes of aim training a couple times a week, and you will start to notice improvement. The first room is going to be the shotgun flicks room. There's several rooms in this map that you can play. I think these 3 that I'm going to talk about are the best. So first is going to be shotgun flicks. You shoot a target. Once you hit the target, another one spawns, and you just rinse and repeat that over and over again. And you do this with a pump shotgun. And this just allows you to practice aiming with the pump, practice hip firing with the pump, and then also reacting to a new target popping up, and you just can shoot like 40 targets in a few seconds, and that is probably more practice using your pump shotgun than you've gotten in the past few days of playing Battle Royale if you are someone that plays a bit slower. So I think this is just quick, good practice. The 360 tracking room is kind of similar. There will be a bot that kind of spins around you, and you just shoot him with your shotgun and your AR. I would recommend trying to hip fire both, and then also swap between the shotgun and the AR. One thing I've talked about in countless videos for trying to get better at close range fights is going to be that you want to fill the time between pump shots with damage from your AR. And a lot of people kind of struggle to swap weapons, and they struggle to swap weapons while keeping their reticle on the opponent and doing all this fluidly. So like tracking, shooting, and swapping and timing that well is difficult for some people, and this room will allow you to practice that as much as you want. And again, a few minutes in here is going to translate to like several days worth of actual practice when it comes to just this mechanic. And this is one small mechanic, but this is something that matters a lot in close range fights for Fortnite. You want to be very good at weapon swapping while also tracking and timing your shots well. So if you only do one of these rooms, I think this 360 tracking one would actually be the most helpful. And then the other room is going to be the AR and sniper tracking. I don't really think too highly of this. But if you are someone who kind of struggles to use the ARs, and maybe you struggle to control recoil or you struggle to track moving targets, you can make the targets kind of bounce and move around at medium range and then just spray at them to your heart's content. And again, with all of these rooms, play 1 to 2 minutes a couple times a week. And I think if you do that for a month, you will see noticeable improvement in your aim. And this can also be decent for maybe fine-tuning settings. I would want to fight real players. But if you just can't track the moving bots at all, then your sensitivity is probably too slow, and you may need to adjust it. And doing some of these aim training rooms could help you with that. Same with like hip firing. A lot of people kind of struggle to track things while hip firing, and the 360 tracking room can help you with that. And then same with the shotgun flicks room. If you can't hit those targets when hip firing, you probably need to practice more, or, you know, adjust some settings maybe. And then the final rooms are going to be fighting maps. And so the aim training map was really nice because you could just do this by yourself, and the fact that there's low population on a lot of zero build maps doesn't really matter. But the fighting maps, it can be hard to find a game, and that's why I kind of talked about before, it doesn't matter what maps you play. So the fighting map I'm going to have on screen is going to be the pit zero build. This is usually decently populated and decently updated with new weapons as they come out, and that's why I recommend it. But if you like some red versus blue or whatever free-for-all map, as long as you're able to fight other players with weapons that are in the game or recently in the game, I think that's good. This season is a weird circumstance where, you know, the Star Wars weapons aren't in creative. But I would recommend using the Chapter 6 weapons in here, and you just are able to fight people and, you know, get that experience fighting. As I talked about earlier, a few minutes in here can translate to several days worth of like actual fighting practice that you would have gotten playing Battle Royale, especially if you're a slower player. So this is just a large free-for-all area with a lot of cover. You can practice using mobility in here as well, because a lot of people do run away. But you just get in your fights, 5 to 10 minutes of this, and you will get in several fights. Hopefully, you know, get better at fighting actual players, especially if you are someone who's kind of scared to fight. And then the final map, which I think is going to be the best zero build practice map I've ever played, is going to be 2v2 realistics. This again can struggle with player population, and a lot of the players in here are pretty decent, and so that kind of scares some people off. But this is just going to be a scenario where it's a 2v2. I think there's a 1v1 version as well. But you're just out in a more realistic area versus somebody else, and you have bunkers and weapons to play off, and then you fight. Once an elimination happens, you respawn and go again, and then I think it's like first to 10 wins the round, whatever. Again, the practice here I feel like you get is a little more structured than like what would be happening in the pit, and then also in a lot of the more free-for-all maps that are just chaotic. So you'll maybe get some better fights, but I don't think the fight quality always matters that much. It's more just like repetition at times. But this zero build map I think could be very good, especially if you play it with your teammate. If you do want to kind of get used to playing off each other in fights, this can be something that can go well, especially if you get matched versus some decent players. And if you are someone who consistently plays squads, then you could just run a 2v2 with your friends, you know, 2 people on one team, 2 on another, and then play this before you hop into squads. And I think you'll end up playing a lot better having done that. And it's something fun to do with your friends. Also, if you're concerned about XP, all of these maps give XP, and so creative is one of the more efficient ways to level up. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.